To see Rihanna and Chris when they first started dating, it was magical, you know? And those two, they were kind of inseparable, you know? You would hear about them being in the studio, you would hear, you know, they're coming into the club together, and it was just an energy.
On the evening of February 8th, 2009, the world of pop music and millions of fans were shaken to their core. Rihanna, the 21-year-old Barbadian superstar, found herself at the center of a domestic violence case which would dominate headlines and spark conversations about abuse, fame, and accountability. Hours before the incident, Rihanna and her then-boyfriend, singer Chris Brown, attended a pre-Grammy party in Los Angeles. They were the picture of a glamorous power couple, young, successful, and adored by their fans. But behind their smiles, tension simmered. As the night unfolded, events would take a harrowing turn. While driving in a rented Lamborghini through Hancock Park, an argument erupted between the two. According to later reports, the dispute was triggered by a text message Brown received from another woman. Words escalated into violence. The details that emerged painted a chilling picture. Chris had assaulted Rihanna, punching her repeatedly, biting her, and even threatening to unalive her. Rihanna tried to protect herself, but the onslaught continued, leaving her bloodied and bruised. When police arrived on the scene after receiving a 911 call, they found Rihanna alone, visibly distressed and injured. The photographic evidence of her injuries, leaked to the public weeks later, shocked the world. Her face bore the unmistakable marks of the attack: swollen eyes, a split lip, and multiple contusions. Brown fled the scene, but turned himself in to authorities later that evening. What followed was a media frenzy, with fans, commentators, and advocacy groups weighing in. While some rallied behind Rihanna, offering support and solidarity, others questioned why she hadn't spoken out sooner or walked away from the relationship earlier, a stark reminder of the stigma and misunderstanding survivors often face. Rihanna's silence in the immediate aftermath only added to the mystery. It wasn't until months later that she broke her silence in a televised interview, describing the incident as, quote, humiliating, and expressing her determination to become a voice for victims of domestic abuse. Quote, "This happened to me. It can happen to anyone." Her words resonated deeply with survivors worldwide. Meanwhile, Chris Brown faced criminal charges, ultimately pleading guilty to felony assault. He was sentenced to community service, probation, and domestic violence counseling, a punishment many felt was much too lenient for the severity of the attack. Despite the legal resolution, questions lingered. What led to the escalation that night? Could anyone close to the couple have intervened earlier? And how would this incident impact the careers of both artists? For Rihanna, the scars of that evening weren't just physical. She has since used her platform to advocate for survivors, speaking out against abuse and working to empower women through her music and philanthropy. However, the case remains a stark reminder of the complexities surrounding domestic abuse, particularly when fame and fortune are involved. To this day, the events of that fateful night continue to spark debate and reflection. What truly happened inside that car? And how does a global superstar move forward while carrying the weight of such a public trauma? These are the questions that linger, much like the shadow of that evening. Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to Memento Mori Stories. I'm Ella Favela, your guide through the darker corners of the human experience. If you're captivated by the mysteries of life, where coffee fuels your curiosity and tales of true crime send chills down your spine, you've found your place. Whether you're a returning listener or you're just tuning in for the first time, I'm thrilled to have you join us. If you thrive on stories that challenge your perception and keep you on edge, make sure to hit that subscribe button and to ring the notification bell. We release new content every 2 weeks, and I'd be honored to have you join us for the ride into the shadows. If you're intrigued by what happens behind the scenes of my life, make sure to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. I'm always up to something, and I'd love for you to be a part of our ever-growing community. You'll find all of my social handles displayed on the screen, and they're clickable for you in the description box below. Now, we need to discuss what's coming up. Today's episode covers a deeply impactful and sensitive topic which may evoke strong emotions in my listeners. These aren't just stories that we tell on this channel. These are real-life events that have had profound effects on individuals and their communities. Please be advised, this channel is not intended for minors. Today's episode includes extremely detailed discussions on violence against women and the ongoing issue of victim blaming. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Given the intensity of these themes, it is essential to take care of your mental and emotional well-being. We believe in the importance of openly discussing these issues in order to foster understanding and empathy. However, we also recognize the potential for listener distress. If at any point you feel uncomfortable, or if these topics resonate too closely with your own lived experience, it is completely fine to take a step back and to skip today's episode. Your mental and emotional well-being are our top priority, and it's crucial for you to honor your own needs and boundaries. As we continue to explore these harrowing stories, please remember that the aim of this channel is not to sensationalize pain, rather, to honor victims and to shed light on the hidden realities which they've endured. We wish to create a space where these difficult conversations lead to greater awareness and ultimately to change. By understanding the darker aspects of human behavior, we hope to contribute to the broader dialogue on prevention and support for those affected by such violence. If you or someone that you know is dealing with these issues or is carrying the weight of past trauma, please know that you're not alone. There are resources and support systems available to help you. We have included a list of links and contacts in the description box below that may offer you some assistance. Whether you seek support from a professional, talk to a trusted confidant, or simply take a break from such heavy topics, there are pathways to your healing. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Let's approach these tales with the compassion and respect they deserve, and strive to learn from them in ways that promote understanding and healing. Now, grab your cup of coffee and settle in as we unravel the case of Rihanna and Chris Brown. Robyn Rihanna Fenty, born on February 20th, 1988, in St. Michael, Barbados, grew up on the picturesque island, far removed from the global stardom that awaited her. Rihanna's early life, however, was not without its challenges, and it was within these formative years that her resilience and determination began to take root. Rihanna was the eldest of 3 children born to Monica, an accountant, and Ronald Fenty, a warehouse supervisor. Her childhood was shaped by the vibrant culture of Barbados, but also by a fractured family dynamic. Her father's struggles with addiction loomed over the household, leading to a tumultuous home life. Rihanna often found solace in music, which became her refuge from the chaos. The reggae beats and calypso rhythms of the island played a pivotal role in shaping her artistic sensibilities. as did her natural talent for singing, which emerged at an early age. Her academic pursuits were a reflection of her focus and ambition. She attended Charles F. Broome Memorial Primary School before enrolling at Combermere High School, where she became known for her charisma and intelligence. But it wasn't just her academic achievements that set her apart. As a teenager, she began entering beauty pageants and talent shows, showcasing her poise and her vocal prowess. At 15, she won a high school beauty pageant, a moment that would mark one of her first public recognitions. Despite her promising talents, Rihanna's early years were marked by personal trials. Her parents' divorce, finalized when she was 14 years old, left a lasting impact. However, this pivotal moment also gave her the strength to channel her energy into her passion. Rihanna's love of music became more than just a pastime. It was her outlet, her escape, and eventually, her calling. She formed a musical trio with two classmates and began exploring the possibility of a career in music. Fate intervened in 2003 when Evan Rogers, an American music producer vacationing in Barbados, discovered Rihanna. At just 15 years old, she auditioned for Rogers with her remarkable voice and commanding stage presence, leaving an indelible impression. Rogers, struck by her potential, invited her to record a demo tape in the United States. This demo would later include her breakthrough track, Pon de Replay, a song that would catapult her to stardom. Rihanna's move to the United States marked the beginning of a transformative chapter in her life. Under the mentorship of Rogers and Carl Sturken, she honed her craft, balancing her studies with long hours in the studio. Her talent soon caught the attention of Def Jam Recordings, where she auditioned for then-President Jay-Z. Her performance was so compelling that she was signed to the label that very day. With her debut single, Pon de Replay, released in 2005, Rihanna made her grand entrance onto the global music scene. The song's infectious dancehall rhythm and her captivating presence earned her immediate acclaim. Her debut album, Music of the Sun, followed shortly after, blending Caribbean influences with mainstream pop. It wasn't long before she released her sophomore album, A Girl Like Me, solidifying her as a rising star. Behind the glamour of her meteoric rise, however, Rihanna remained deeply connected to her roots. She embraced her Barbadian heritage, proudly representing her culture in her music and her personal life. Her humility and authenticity resonated with fans worldwide, setting her apart as an artist who remained true to herself, even in the face of growing fame. Rihanna's early career was a testament to her work ethic and determination. Each album release showcased her evolution as an artist, with her bold fashion choices and genre-defying music earning her a reputation as a trendsetter. Her third album, Good Girl Gone Bad, released in 2007, marked a pivotal moment, producing hits like Umbrella and establishing her as a pop icon. Yet, beneath the glitz and the accolades, she was still navigating the complexities of her newfound fame and the personal sacrifice which it entailed. By the time Rihanna entered her 20s, she had already become a household name, celebrated for her talent, charm, and unwavering authenticity. Her journey from a small-town girl in Barbados to a global superstar was nothing short of extraordinary. Little did the world know, her resilience would soon be tested in unspeakable ways. As her star continued to rise, questions lingered about how she balanced her rapid ascent with the pressures of fame. What personal costs had she endured on her journey to the top? These questions, though unanswered at the time, would foreshadow the challenges that would later define her legacy. Christopher Maurice Brown was born on May 5, 1989, in the small town of Tappahannock, Virginia. His early years were steeped in a blend of hardship and discovery, experiences that would shape the trajectory of his life. Growing up in a modest household, Chris was the youngest of 2 siblings. His mother, Joyce Hawkins, worked at a daycare center, while his stepfather was employed at a local gas station. However, beneath the seemingly ordinary facade of their family life lay a much darker narrative. Chris often witnessed domestic violence at home, a harrowing reality that left a lasting impression on the child. These experiences, he would later admit, fueled both his determination to succeed and his deep-seated personal issues. Despite the turmoil, Chris found solace in music, drawn to the gospel sounds that reverberated through his local church. By the time he was a young boy, he was already singing in the church choir, his voice a raw but undeniable talent. At just 2 years old, Chris began to dance, mimicking the moves of Michael Jackson, whose influence would remain with him throughout his career. By his early teens, he was already a self-taught performer, blending his love of singing and dancing into a burgeoning skill set. He admired artists like Usher, Genuine, and Sam Cooke, whose artistry inspired him to dream beyond the confines of his small town. When Chris was 13, a chance encounter at his stepfather's gas station would alter his life forever. A talent scout visiting Tappahannock recognized the young boy's potential and introduced him to a local production team. They helped him record a demo, igniting the first spark of his professional career. His talent caught the attention of Tina Davis, a music executive who would become his manager. Tina facilitated meetings with major record labels, eventually leading Chris to sign with Jive Records at just 15 years old. In 2005, Chris released his self-titled debut album, which featured the chart-topping single Run It. The song catapulted him to stardom almost overnight, earning him comparisons to his heroes, Usher and Michael Jackson. The album was a commercial success, selling millions of copies and marking the arrival of a new R&B sensation. His boy-next-door charm and remarkable stage presence made him an instant favorite among fans and critics alike. As his career skyrocketed, Chris quickly transitioned from a small-town kid to a global icon. In the years that followed, he released a string of successful singles, including Yo, Excuse Me Miss, Gimme That, and Say Goodbye. Each showcased his versatility as both a vocalist and a dancer, cementing his reputation as a multifaceted entertainer. By the age of 18, Chris was not only a Grammy nominee, but also a household name. Behind the scenes, however, fame brought its own set of challenges. Chris struggled to adjust to the intense pressures of celebrity life. Media scrutiny and the relentless pace of his career began to weigh heavily on the young star. Despite his outward success, he often spoke about the difficulties of navigating the entertainment industry at such a young age. Yet, he pressed on, fueled by his ambition and the promise of an even brighter future. By the late 2000s, Chris had successfully expanded his brand. He ventured into acting, appearing in films like Stomp the Yard and This Christmas, and continued to collaborate with some of the biggest names in the music industry. His image as a clean-cut, charismatic performer seemed unshakable, but as his fame grew, so too did the complexities of his personal life, a reality that was largely hidden from the public eye at the time. In interviews, Chris often reflected on his childhood, recounting both the joy of discovering his passion for music and the pain of witnessing domestic violence. This duality seemed to define him, shaping his artistry as well as his personal struggles. By the time he entered his late teens, he had already achieved more than most people could ever dream of. However, the weight of his past and the pressure of his present loomed large. Chris Brown's rise to fame was meteoric, but as the spotlight grew brighter, the shadows of his life became harder to ignore. What had begun as the story of a boy with big dreams in a small town was now one of global stardom and the unrelenting challenges that came with it. How would these pressures shape the man he was becoming? And what toll would they take on the young star whose talent seemed limitless? The answers, as the world would soon discover, were far more complex than anyone could have ever imagined.
And Juan, just a few hours ago, we saw Chris Brown drive off. According to sources, the alleged fight broke out inside a Lamborghini that was located at Hancock Park.
Rihanna and Chris Brown were two of the biggest stars of their time when their paths first crossed. Rihanna, the Barbadian beauty with an unmatched voice, was taking the world by storm with her many hits. Meanwhile, Chris, the smooth-talking R&B sensation, was solidifying his place as a global heartthrob. Together, they seemed like the perfect match, a power couple destined to dominate both the musical charts and the public's imagination. Their story began in 2005 when they were introduced at the start of their respective careers. Both were rising stars navigating the pressures of fame, and a friendship quickly blossomed. For a while, their bond remained professional, and they collaborated and supported each other's projects. However, by 2008, their connection evolved into something much deeper. Rumors of a romantic relationship began to swirl as the two were spotted together at high-profile events. Their undeniable chemistry was evident during their performance at the 2007 MTV VMAs, where they shared the stage for a sizzling rendition of Rihanna's hit Umbrella and Chris's Wall to Wall. Though they played coy in interviews, fans and the media both speculated that their connection extended far beyond the music. By late 2008, Rihanna and Chris were no longer hiding their romance. Their social media posts and public appearances painted the picture of a young couple deeply in love. They were frequently seen laughing together, holding hands and sharing tender moments at award shows and parties. Paparazzi photos of them vacationing in Barbados, Rihanna's home country, further solidified their status as a power couple. Their relationship wasn't just personal, it was also professional. The two collaborated on a remix of Rihanna's hit song Umbrella and on Chris's Cinderella. Their chemistry in the studio was as electric as it was on stage, creating hits that resonated with their fans. Rihanna often described Chris as her best friend, someone who understood the pressures of fame and who could make her laugh even in the most stressful moments. In interviews, Chris often spoke about how much he admired Rihanna's drive and talent. Likewise, she often gushed about Chris's charisma and creativity. They seemed to be each other's biggest supporters, a source of strength for each other in an industry that thrived on isolating its stars. Despite their status, they often tried to maintain a sense of normalcy. Rihanna would share glimpses of their relationship, revealing that they enjoyed simple things like watching movies, eating takeout, and spending time with their close friends. Their love seemed genuine and carefree, a refreshing contrast to the intense scrutiny that often surrounds celebrity couples. As their relationship deepened, their love became even more public. Chris accompanied Rihanna to events, including the 2008 American Music Awards, where they dazzled onlookers with their coordinated outfits and undeniable chemistry. Fans couldn't get enough of them, and the media dubbed them the golden couple of R&B. But with fame comes inevitable pressure. The media spotlight was relentless, capturing every outing, every interaction. Fans dissected their body language, their social media posts, and their song lyrics, searching for clues about the state of their relationship. Both Rihanna and Chris faced the challenges of balancing their private lives with their public personas. In late 2008, Rihanna opened up about how much Chris meant to her. During an interview with Elle magazine, she described him as, quote, "someone who gets me like no one else does." Their relationship wasn't just about shared fame. It was a genuine connection between two young people navigating the difficulties of life underneath a microscope. Behind the scenes, they were also planning for the future. Close friends revealed that Rihanna often spoke about how much she admired Chris's work ethic and vision. Chris, in turn, credited Rihanna with inspiring him to push the boundaries of his music and to explore new creative adventures. They seemed to bring out the best in each other, making their partnership one of mutual growth and support. As 2009 approached, Rihanna and Chris were at the height of their careers. They rang in the new year together, posting pictures of their glamorous celebration and sharing their hopes for the future. Fans eagerly anticipated what the couple would achieve next, both as individuals and as a team. From the outside, their relationship appeared flawless, a fairy tale romance between two of the most talented young stars in the entire world. They were adored by their public, celebrated by their peers, and seemingly unstoppable. But as the public fawned over their love story, no one could have anticipated the turbulence that lay ahead. On February 8, 2009, the glitz and glamour of Clive Davis' annual pre-Grammy Gala were in full swing. Among the attendees were Rihanna and Chris Brown, two of the music industry's brightest stars. They arrived as a couple, the embodiment of young love and success. Rihanna was radiant in a white gown, and Chris, effortlessly charismatic, were the center of attention, photographed and admired by fans and peers alike. However, as the night progressed, the fairy tale image began to unravel, giving way to a much darker reality. At this time, Chris and Rihanna were seen as Hollywood royalty, a power couple whose chemistry was as electric off stage as it was on. Yet, behind their smiles and public displays of affection, tensions were simmering. According to later reports, the evening took a dramatic turn after Rihanna discovered a text message on Chris's phone. The message, sent by another woman, sparked a confrontation that would escalate with shocking intensity. Leaving the event in Chris's rented Lamborghini, the couple began what should have been a quiet drive through the streets of Los Angeles. Instead, it became the setting for a harrowing incident. The argument, which started as a verbal exchange, quickly spiraled out of control. Witnesses would later describe hearing raised voices coming from the vehicle, but the true extent of what happened inside would only become clear through the official police reports. According to an affidavit released by the LAPD, Chris's anger exploded into physical violence. As he steered the car with one hand, he used the other to strike Rihanna repeatedly. The blows landed on her face, leaving her disoriented and in pain. Rihanna attempted to shield herself, raising her hands in defense, but the assault continued. At one point, Chris reportedly placed her in a headlock, squeezing tightly enough to restrict her airway. Struggling to breathe, Rihanna tried to fight back, clawing at Chris in an attempt to free herself. Desperate to escape, she kicked at the car windows, but her efforts were futile. The confined space of the vehicle offered her little chance to escape. The situation escalated further when Rihanna reached for Chris's phone, hoping to call for help. Enraged, he grabbed the phone and threw it out the car window, eliminating her ability to contact anyone. According to the police affidavit, Chris issued a chilling threat, telling her, quote, "You're really gonna make me do this." Despite her fear, Rihanna continued to resist, biting and scratching Chris as she tried to break free from his grip. Eventually, Chris pulled the car to a stop. Rihanna managed to exit the vehicle, but the attack had left her with severe injuries. Photographs later leaked to the public revealed the full extent of the harm she had suffered. Her face was swollen and bruised, with cuts visible on her lips and forehead. Her injuries were so severe, she reportedly was on the verge of losing consciousness multiple times during the assault. A passerby, alarmed by the sight of Rihanna's injuries, called 911 to report the incident. By the time law enforcement arrived, Chris had fled the scene, leaving Rihanna alone and visibly shaken. Officers noted her battered appearance and the trauma evident in her demeanor. Paramedics arrived soon after and transported her to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where she received treatment for her injuries. Chris Brown's arrest was the culmination of a series of rapidly escalating events. After a brief manhunt, he was located at his home and taken into custody without incident. The LAPD, in a statement, confirmed that he was arrested on suspicion of making criminal threats. At that moment, the details surrounding the altercation remained largely a mystery. But soon, the public learned that he was also facing felony charges for assault, stemming from the incident with Rihanna. The arrest set off a cascade of reactions, from disbelief amongst Brown's fans to outrage from critics and advocates against domestic abuse. Authorities acted swiftly in the aftermath, and Brown was arrested on bail later that day. However, his legal trouble was far from over. The details of his arrest were only the beginning of a complex and long-running legal battle. As the case progressed, he would face intense scrutiny from the public and the legal system alike, with a media circus following every move he made. In the hours following his arrest, the LAPD began their investigation in earnest, piecing together the facts of the assault. They collected evidence, including photographs and eyewitness accounts, which would play a key role in the legal proceedings to follow. Brown's legal team quickly mobilized, working to secure his release and to mitigate the potential fallout from the high-profile arrest. As the news broke, the entertainment industry seemed to hold its breath. Fans and critics alike had a range of reactions, from expressions of disbelief and betrayal to vocal support for Rihanna, who, despite her injuries, remained largely silent about the details of the attack. For Chris, this was the first step in a downward spiral that would take a heavy toll on his career and his public image. The arrest made it clear that there would be no easy escape for Chris. Legal experts and criminal justice advocates weighed in, underscoring the severity of the charges which he faced. In the coming months, the public would witness his increasingly tense battle in court, as the young pop star tried to salvage his career while grappling with the consequences of his actions. With the specter of felony charges hanging over him, it seemed as though Chris's carefully constructed persona was crumbling. Chris Brown's arrest would go down in history as a turning point for both him and his career. The gravity of the charges would lead to widespread consequences, and the legal drama that ensued would serve as a stark reminder of the far-reaching implications of violence in relationships. For Rihanna, the arrest marked the beginning of her own journey to healing, one that would eventually be shared with the world. But for Brown, the day he was taken into custody would remain a pivotal moment, a defining chapter in the public saga that would ultimately shape the trajectory of his legacy. The sentencing of Chris Brown in 2009 marked the legal conclusion of a turbulent chapter for the singer, stemming from his assault on Rihanna earlier that year. Following a guilty plea, Chris faced a series of legal conditions designed both to punish and rehabilitate him. His sentence was delivered in August 2009, and while the charges were serious, the court took into account his age, remorse, and the potential for rehabilitation when determining the sentence. Chris was sentenced to 5 years of probation, a period during which he was required to adhere to strict legal conditions. The probation was intended to hold him accountable for his actions while offering him an opportunity to get better. One of the conditions of probation was that he could not contact Rihanna directly or indirectly for the entire duration of the term, a no-contact order that was imposed to protect her from further potential harm. The court also ordered that Brown maintain a distance of 50 yards from Rihanna, unless they were at a public event, in which case the distance would be reduced to 10 yards. This provision was designed to ensure Rihanna's safety during the probationary period. In addition to probation, Chris was ordered to complete 180 days of community service. The community service involved performing manual labor such as picking up trash on highways in Virginia, a decision that reflected the severity of the charges while also emphasizing the need for Brown to contribute to the community in a tangible way. The court required that this community service be completed within a period of 2 years, and it was stipulated that he must also submit proof of completion to the court. Brown was also mandated to attend domestic violence counseling for 1 year. This counseling was part of his rehabilitative sentence, aimed at addressing the underlying issues related to his aggressive behavior and to encouraging personal growth. The program was designed to help him understand the dynamics of abuse, to better manage his anger, and to prevent future violent behavior. Brown was required to provide proof of his attendance at counseling sessions to the court. The judge made it clear that all of these conditions were meant not only to punish Chris, but to give him the tools to rehabilitate and avoid future violence. Despite his public remorse and efforts to present himself as a young man who simply made a mistake, the court emphasized that the severity of the assault required significant intervention. In addition to all of these conditions, the sentencing also imposed the stipulation that Brown must remain law-abiding during the period of his probation. Any further violation of the law would result in severe penalty, including incarceration. The court also required that Brown keep the probation office informed of his whereabouts and activities during probation, and that he submit to random drug and alcohol testing. For Rihanna, the sentencing brought some closure, as it offered a measure of justice and accountability for the assault. However, the emotional impact of the case and the public scrutiny that followed would continue to affect her, even as the legal process unfolded. Meanwhile, for Brown, the sentence marked the beginning of a long and difficult period of rehabilitation, during which he would face intense public scrutiny, legal challenges, and the weight of his own past actions. Chris Brown's history of violence towards women has been a disturbing and ongoing saga that continued long after his 2009 conviction. The cycle of abusive behavior would repeat itself in several high-profile incidents, sparking much controversy. Though he had been ordered to undergo counseling as part of his probation, the pattern of violence would soon reemerge, challenging the notion that rehabilitation can prevent troubling behavior. One of the first major incidents after his 2009 sentencing occurred in February 2012, when Brown was involved in a phone robbery incident. This situation began in the early hours of the morning, after Chris attended a nightclub in Miami. According to the police report, Brown was accused of grabbing a woman's phone and trying to delete photos she had taken of him at the club. The woman, later identified as a fan, had reportedly tried to take a photo with him, which Chris did not appreciate. In retaliation, he snatched her phone and fled the scene in his car, leaving her without her personal property. The woman, after reporting the theft, claimed that Chris had become hostile when she attempted to capture a picture with him. In a statement to the authorities, she detailed how Chris had grabbed her phone with force and driven away quickly from the scene. She reported the incident, and Brown was eventually investigated for robbery and assault. The case was covered widely in the media, drawing comparisons to his previous violent history. While he was not immediately arrested, the incident reinforced the notion that he had not truly learned anything and that his pattern of aggressive behavior continued to exist. The legal repercussions of the February 2012 phone robbery incident were relatively minimal for Chris. Despite the accusations, he was not charged with criminal robbery, and the matter was eventually resolved. However, the event was indicative of the deeply rooted issues with impulse control and aggression that would quickly become a central theme in his post-Rihanna assault cases. This case highlights how little Chris had changed despite the court-ordered counseling and probation he had recently undergone. Just a few months later, in March 2013, Chris would find himself in yet another violent incident, this time in Washington, D.C., where he was arrested after an altercation outside of a hotel, in which he was accused of hitting a man in the face. The incident began when Chris and his entourage allegedly got into a dispute with another man outside of the W Hotel. The confrontation escalated when Brown, enraged, reportedly punched a man in the nose. The victim, later identified as a man named Christopher Hollisey, claimed that Brown had aggressively attacked him without provocation. Brown was arrested and charged with assault. He eventually pled guilty to the charge, serving time in a local jail as part of his sentence. The DC assault was another chapter in a growing list of violent incidents involving Chris, further undermining his public image and reigniting concerns about his rehabilitation. Despite serving time for the incident, the matter highlights the ongoing struggle with anger management and his inability to control his violent impulses. This altercation occurred while Brown was still on probation for assaulting Rihanna, complicating matters even further. His probation was at risk, and legal experts began to question whether he was truly willing to engage in the steps necessary for personal change. In 2014, after his release from jail following the DC assault case, Brown's troubling behavior did not subside. That year, in November, another legal issue arose when a woman accused him of assaulting her during a party at his home. The woman claimed that Brown attacked her after she tried to take a photograph with him during a private gathering. As the woman recounted the situation, she said that Chris became enraged when she attempted to take a picture with him. Brown allegedly grabbed her phone, broke it, and became physically aggressive. The woman later filed a police report, accusing him of assault, but the case ultimately did not result in any significant charges against him. However, the recurring pattern of violence was evident once again, raising concerns about his capacity to truly change his behavior. Later incidents, however, would escalate even further, culminating in legal troubles that stretched into the next decade. In 2016, Brown was involved in yet another controversy when he was accused of threatening a woman with a gun at his home. This case began when a woman named Erin Kern entered Brown's property in Los Angeles, where she allegedly commented on a piece of jewelry inside his home. According to Kern, Brown became agitated and allegedly pointed a gun at her, demanding that she leave. She later called the police, who surrounded Brown's home for hours during a tense standoff. Brown was arrested and charged with felony assault with a deadly weapon, although he denied the allegations. The case was eventually dismissed due to a lack of evidence, but the damage to his reputation had been done. The 2016 gun incident was a reminder of Chris's increasingly volatile nature, despite his attempts at maintaining a public image of rehabilitation. Legal experts and domestic violence advocates were left questioning whether he would ever be able to break free from his cycle of abuse and aggression. Even as his career continued to flourish in certain respects, his ongoing legal and behavioral issues cast a long shadow over his success. Chris Brown's history of assault and violence towards women has become a disturbing narrative that stretches over several years. His repeated offenses highlight the challenges faced by individuals who struggle with deeply ingrained behavioral problems, particularly in the context of anger and aggression. Despite numerous legal consequences, Brown has been unable to escape the pattern of violence that continues to follow him. Each case in his history is a stark reminder that rehabilitation may not always succeed, and that the true consequences of abuse extend far beyond the courtroom and well into the lives of the victims. Chris Brown's continued presence in the entertainment industry, despite his well-documented history of violence, speaks volumes about society's complex relationship with fame, redemption, and accountability. In the years following his 2009 assault on Rihanna, Brown faced a string of violent incidents. Yet, despite these repeated offenses, he has managed to retain his status as a popular and profitable artist. His enduring platform reveals troubling truths about how we, as a society, often prioritize celebrity over accountability, and how systemic issues around gender, race, and public perception enable perpetrators of abuse to continue to thrive. One of the primary reasons that Chris continues to have a platform is the idolization of celebrity culture. In a world that values fame and success, many people, especially fans, are willing to overlook troubling behavior simply for the sake of maintaining their connection to an admired figure. Fans of Chris Brown, especially those who grew up listening to his music during his early career, view his personal life through the lens of his artistry. His ability to generate hit songs, to perform on stage, and to maintain a high-profile career has made him an almost untouchable figure for many. This compartmentalization allows people to separate the artist from the art, creating an environment where people can continue to enjoy his work while excusing or minimizing the gravity of his actions off stage. Moreover, Brown's ability to maintain his career despite his violence underscores a societal tendency to forgive celebrities, particularly when they're male. Studies have shown that celebrities, especially men, are often granted more leeway when it comes to personal misdeeds, especially if they possess a high level of talent. Chris Brown's early expressions of remorse, along with public attempts to rehabilitate his image, were enough for many to justify giving him a second chance. In the entertainment industry, there's a disproportionate emphasis on a celebrity's talent or marketability rather than their character or their past behavior. Chris Brown's consistent chart-topping singles and his powerful presence on social media have allowed him to remain profitable for record labels and industry executives, thus contributing to his continued success despite his publicly abusive past. Another aspect of this issue is the cultural tendency to allow the redemption narrative to overshadow true accountability. The concept of redemption is deeply ingrained in American culture, particularly for public figures who have fallen from grace. Celebrities like Brown often take advantage of this framework, utilizing public apologies and seeking therapy as part of their image repair. However, redemption is not always synonymous with accountability. Brown's repeated legal troubles and violent incidents suggest that, rather than genuinely addressing the root causes of his problems, he has relied on surface-level gestures aimed at appeasing the public. The media's willingness to entertain these claims of change without scrutinizing the sincerity of the process speaks to a society more invested in allowing celebrities to return to their former glory than in holding them to account for their actions. Moreover, gender dynamics play a significant role in the continued platforming of abusers like Chris Brown. In Brown's case, the fact that his victim was Rihanna, a woman, has been central to the discussions surrounding his actions. Domestic violence, particularly when men are the perpetrators, is often minimized or overlooked in the context of celebrity culture, especially when the woman involved is perceived as strong, independent, or successful. Rihanna, in particular, received widespread support from her fans and the public after the assault, but she was also widely criticized for returning to her career after the incident. Brown, on the other hand, faced comparatively little public censure, and his male celebrity status often shielded him from deeper criticism. This reflects a broader societal issue, the tendency to minimize the suffering of women and prioritize the careers of male celebrities, especially those with considerable market value. Additionally, race dynamics contribute to Chris Brown's continued prominence in a way that highlight deeper societal inequity. Brown, a Black artist, has faced some unique challenges, but his race also plays a role in how his transgressions are perceived. The entertainment industry, often shaped by both racial and economic factors, can be forgiving when it comes to the rehabilitation of Black artists, especially those who have the potential to bring in significant revenue. Chris Brown's continued success, despite his abuse of women, can be seen in the context of a larger pattern within the industry of prioritizing profit over the well-being of marginalized individuals. This dynamic often gives artists like Chris more opportunity for redemption, even when they fail to change their behavior. Ultimately, Chris Brown's continued platform serves as a reminder of the societal reluctance to hold powerful men accountable for their actions, especially when they hold significant cultural and economic influence. His ongoing success in the face of his own violent past highlights a broader issue: the way that we as a society often prioritize celebrity, talent, and marketability over responsibility, moral integrity, and genuine change, until we, as a collective, demand more from the individuals who are elevated to these powerful platforms, especially those who abuse their power. The cycle of enabling such behavior will continue. This sends a dangerous message about the value that we place on fame versus the dignity and safety of victims. In the case of Chris and Rihanna, the psychological tactic of DARVO, an acronym for deny, attack, reverse victim and offender, can be seen playing a significant role in both the aftermath of the abuse and the broader narrative that emerged surrounding the incident. DARVO is a manipulative strategy often used by perpetrators of abuse to deflect blame, shift responsibility, and reframe themselves as the victim in the situation. This tactic helps abusers maintain power and control, while also minimizing their own actions and the suffering of the true victim. Chris Brown's behavior and the public response to his case reflect many of the elements of DARVO, illustrating how this tactic can effectively shape public perception and the trajectory of a person's career, even after a high-profile violent incident. After Brown's assault on Rihanna, the public response was, at times, marked by an attempt to shift focus away from the abusive act and onto Brown's suffering and supposed redemption. The deny aspect of DARVO was clear from the outset. Brown repeatedly denied the severity of his actions, often describing the incident in a way that minimized his own responsibility. Rather than acknowledging the full extent of the assault and its impact on Rihanna, Brown's legal team and public relations handlers attempted to downplay the incident, framing it as a one-time mistake, a moment of emotional outburst that could be explained away by his youth or the stresses of his career. This denial allowed Chris to avoid taking full responsibility for his actions, framing the abuse as a lapse in judgment rather than a pattern of violent behavior. The attack aspect of Darvo is seen in how Brown and his supporters positioned Rihanna as part of the problem, often suggesting that she was at fault or even responsible for the violence. In public statements, some of Brown's defenders accused Rihanna of provoking him, perpetuating a victim-blaming narrative which shifted attention away from Chris's actions. This attack on the victim is a core tactic of Darvo, which seeks to undermine the credibility of the person who has been harmed, thus making it more difficult for them to be heard or believed. In this case, the attack on Rihanna was not always overt. Rather, it took the form of questioning her motives, her behavior during the altercation, and even her decision to return to the public eye. This type of attack serves to reframe the narrative, making it harder for the victim to maintain control over their own story. Finally, the reverse victim and offender aspect of Darvo was evident in how Brown presented himself as the real victim in the situation. He publicly expressed remorse, but the narrative often turned towards his emotional suffering and the damage to his career, rather than the trauma experienced by Rihanna. After the assault, Brown became the subject of sympathy for his perceived fall from grace. Media coverage frequently emphasized his fall from fame, the challenges he faced in the aftermath of the incident, and the redemption arc he was trying to build. This reversal of victim and offender allowed Brown to center the conversation on his rehabilitation and personal growth, deflecting attention away from the damage he had caused to Rihanna and the broader implications of domestic abuse. In the context of the public's understanding of the case, Darvo helped to mitigate the damage to Brown's career, enabling him to continue working and performing. His eventual return to the music industry and chart-topping success demonstrate the effectiveness of this tactic, particularly in environments where public opinion can be swayed by media narratives and celebrity rehabilitation. Chris's ability to maintain his platform, despite his history, highlights the power of Darvo in shifting societal attention away from the offender's actions and onto their supposed victimhood, all the while leaving the real victims sidelined and unable to regain control over their own narratives. Rihanna's career after her assault by Chris is an inspiring story of resilience, empowerment, and remarkable success. Rather than allowing the trauma of the incident to define her, she used it as a catalyst for her growth, pushing forward to not only dominate the music charts, but also to establish herself as a business mogul, a philanthropist, and an advocate for social change. Her ability to overcome adversity and to thrive in the face of personal challenge became a defining feature of her career, and she continues to serve as an influential figure both in the entertainment industry and beyond. After the assault, she took some time away from the public eye, focusing on her recovery. However, it wasn't long before she returned to the music scene with her fifth studio album, Loud, in 2010, which marked a significant turning point in her career. The album was a commercial triumph, producing multiple hits including Only Girl in the World and S&M. Both tracks showcased a bold and confident Rihanna, with S&M particularly emphasizing themes of empowerment and liberation. The album's success signified her artistic evolution and her ability to rise above the challenges she faced, marking her as an artist who was not defined by her past, but rather by her talent and resilience. Rihanna's musical versatility became a hallmark of her career after the assault. She effortlessly transitioned between various genres, including pop, R&B, dancehall, and even rock. Her sixth album, Talk That Talk, in 2011, was another major milestone, with the hit single We Found Love becoming a global anthem. The collaboration with DJ Calvin Harris not only produced a chart-topping single, but also showcased her ability to push boundaries and to explore new musical territory. Her ability to constantly innovate and to release chart-topping hits ensured her place as one of the most prominent artists of her generation. The album's success also signaled her growth as a musician who was not afraid to evolve. Her commercial success would reach new heights with the release of her seventh album, Unapologetic, in 2012, which became her first album to debut at #1 on the Billboard charts. Featuring hits like Diamonds, Rihanna's vocal range and emotional depth were on full display, signaling a shift towards more mature themes in her music. Diamonds, in particular, stood out as a powerful ballad which resonated with listeners on a personal level, demonstrating her ability to express vulnerability while still maintaining her signature confidence. Rihanna's music became a platform for self-expression, with her songs reflecting both the emotional complexity and strength which defined her post-assault career. Beyond her music, her business acumen was on full display. In 2015, she launched Fenty Beauty, a cosmetics brand in collaboration with LVMH, Moet Hennessy Louis Vuitton. The launch of Fenty Beauty was revolutionary for the beauty industry, as it was one of the first major brands to offer a wide range of foundation shades to accommodate diverse skin tones. Rihanna's commitment to inclusivity in beauty set a new standard, and the brand was an instant success. It broke sales records and received widespread acclaim for its accessibility and representation. The success of Fenty Beauty was a clear reflection of Rihanna's entrepreneurial spirit and her ability to leverage her platform in order to challenge industry norms and to make a tangible impact. She would further expand her business empire with the launch of her fashion line, Fenty, which made her the first Black woman to head a luxury fashion house under LVMH. This venture solidified her position as a multi-million-dollar mogul, with Fenty quickly becoming a symbol of luxury, inclusivity, and innovation in the fashion world. Additionally, she would launch Savage X Fenty, a lingerie line which further emphasized inclusivity by offering a wide range of sizes and featuring diverse models in its campaigns. Savage X Fenty has been hailed for its body-positive message, challenging the traditional standards of beauty in the fashion industry. Her commitment to inclusivity in both beauty and fashion demonstrate her ability to create spaces for people of all backgrounds to feel seen and valued. Her impact extends far beyond entertainment and fashion. She has also become a powerful advocate for social change, using her platform to raise awareness for various causes, especially those related to women and children. In 2012, she founded the Clara Lionel Foundation, named after her grandparents, with the mission of improving the quality of life for communities around the world. The foundation focuses on global education, healthcare, and disaster relief, with a particular emphasis on empowering marginalized communities. Through the foundation, she has funded scholarships for students in need, provided aid to communities affected by natural disasters, and supported programs that promote access to education and healthcare for underprivileged children. Her advocacy for women's rights and domestic violence awareness is particularly notable, given her personal experience with abuse. She's been vocal about the importance of supporting victims of domestic violence and empowering women to break free from toxic relationships. Her involvement in the Girl Up initiative, a campaign that works to support adolescent girls globally, demonstrates her commitment to gender equality and the empowerment of young women. She has also worked closely with organizations like UNICEF and the Global Partnership for Education, where she has used her influence to advocate for education access for girls, especially in developing countries. Her efforts reflect her broader desire to use her platform for positive social change, demonstrating that her commitment to making the world a better place goes far beyond her music. Rihanna's continued success after her public assault is a powerful story of overcoming adversity and creating lasting change. Rather than being defined by the trauma of her past, she's used her experience to fuel her creativity, entrepreneurship, and activism. Her rise to fame and influence in music, fashion, and business showcase her remarkable resilience, while her philanthropic efforts continue to make a tangible impact on communities worldwide. Her career is a testament to the power of perseverance and the ability to take control of one's narrative, turning pain into power and paving the way for future generations. Her name is Robyn, but she's better known as Rihanna, and this is her story. It is my honor and distinct privilege to place her directly where she belongs, right in the center of this narrative, never to be forgotten. If you or somebody that you love are facing domestic abuse, please know that you're not alone and that there is help available. Your safety and well-being are of the utmost importance. Remember that you deserve to live a life free of fear and violence, and know that there are people who care about you and who want to support you. You have the right to seek help and to pursue a life free from abuse. In the description box of this video, I've compiled a range of resources and helpful links that I personally found useful when leaving my own abuser, and I encourage you to explore them. You are capable of overcoming this, and I believe in you wholeheartedly. As we conclude this chapter, let us carry forward the lessons learned and continue the fight against domestic violence in all of its forms. Together, we can work towards creating a world where every individual feels safe, valued, and empowered to live a life without fear. The painting I've been working on today is my annual New Year's self-portrait. As of the time of recording this voiceover, January 15th, 2025, I have completed the painting, and it took me about 62 hours. It is 9 by 12 inches and is composed of watercolor and gouache paint, Posca pen, India ink, and gilding foil on 300 GSM 140-pound cold-pressed block. This piece is available for sale, and many of my other original works are too. My books are currently open to custom-commissioned work, and I'm also taking pre-orders for my next print drop, so please visit my Instagram, @MementoMoriArt, and see the pinned posts for more details on the next images that will be available shortly as prints, as well as to reserve yours at the discounted pre-order pricing. I ship for free across Canada, but I'm happy to ship globally for a nominal fee as well. If any of that sounds interesting to you, please send an email to hello@stageleftproject.ca. If you believe in the power of conversation, in dismantling the silence that shrouds domestic abuse, and in fostering empathy, then I invite you to be a part of the Memento Mori Stories community. Subscribe to our channel to stay engaged with thought-provoking stories, discussions, and creative expressions. Together, we can be a force for awareness, understanding, and healing. Your subscription is not just a click. It's a pledge to be a part of a movement that embraces the power of storytelling to bring about positive change. Remember, every voice matters, and yours can be a catalyst for good. Subscribe, share, and let's continue this journey together. Remember, one day you will die, but for now, live well. Ciao for now.